It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Not my favorite part of the show, wherein I guess what's in Tim's background. And Tim, I'm going to guess that you got a map behind you, the United States of America. And the only blue states are Illinois and Arizona. But before you get your hopes up, it's not an electoral map. It's just a map of where the Bears game is going to be on Sunday. The Bears are playing the Cardinals. I've actually seen a map like that. So show me it. It's probably that.
Was that a disappointment when you realized what it was?
Yeah, because I'm getting a little nervous. So what do you got for us?
Well, here I am in the a strategy room of Kamala Harris. It's they're doing Get Out the Vote.
And it looks like they're printing ballots. Am I right? Is that what it's like?
That is correct.
I mean, that's like the second generation from Gutenberg, I think. But it works. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you can't use a high tech Hewlett Packard because they all have codes. Did you know that?
Sure.
Is that if you print something on a printer now, they can trace it to the exact printer.
Look, low tech. I was just hearing that this week. One of the reasons the Israelis had a little difficult time with Hamas is that they were low tech. They didn't trust the technology. And they were right not to, because you saw what Israel did with Hezbollah and everything like that. Oh, yeah. Try and get a pager.
Right. When they went from the 19th century into the 20th century, look what happened.
No, it was really bad. It was really bad for them. So no, I get it. If that's the way to steal the election. So, all right, we've been doing this, every week. What last I saw, the odds, the bettors were on Trump's side. I'm getting a little nervous for a variety of reasons, and I hope you'll calm me. But what are the odds right now?
Well, it's down a little bit. It was all the way up to 28 point 6, I think. It's right now, Chris is showing it. It's down to
24, something like that, 23 and a half, something like that.
23.6. Yeah.
So
it's down. It was all the way up to 28 for a while, and I was like, oh, it's over.
And we'll get to it in the next segment. We'll talk in greater detail on the garbage as we sift through the garbage comment, the October surprise. But if that was one, I mean, gee whiz, that's an October surprise. But one thing is relevant. I saw Noah Rothman tweeting it this week, but I think I would have thought of that too. Trump's big concern is that, a lot of people favor him. Real Clear polling.com has right now 225 for Harris Walz, 219 for Trump, and 94 toss-up. Okay. But that Trump's got to get those unlikely voters out. The ill-educated, the deplorable, the garbage, the young men who like Trump, but I don't know where the polling place is. Whereas
now, is it the uneducated voters or is it the overeducated voters? Because I know a lot of real smart people that say, what does it matter?
Well, I know that too, but it really does seem to get more blue collarish. I mean, it's more. I would imagine it's more I don't know how much of the World Series you watch, but the kind of guy who got thrown out of the World Series, the fan, because he wrestled the ball out of Mookie Betts' mitt. And, you have to pay the minimum cost of those seats was like $1,500 a seat. But anyway, I don't know.
Well, you spend that much, you're going to want a souvenir.
I would hope so. And I want my souvenir now. Right. So I get it. I get it.
And the sad reality of that is that ball is probably worth $500,000 right now.
Well, actually the ball that I would want would be the one that Aaron Judge dropped in the outfield because he wasn't looking. I mean, oh man, they should have. I don't know what's worse. Well, we'll talk sports later, but the Bears losing on a Hail Mary or the Yankees just disintegrating in one inning with 3 mental errors. But anyway, Chris is throwing up all these charts right here, and I should have Harry Enton or Steve Kornacki or one of those guys analyzing it all. But as I say, it just seems like those voters who are not likely to come out might be inspired by the fact that Joe Biden called Trump voters garbage, which we'll get into the whether that actually happened or not in the next segment, I guess. But so, I mean, what are you going to be looking for? Are you going to be looking for, Indiana and Kentucky, those bedroom communities of Hamilton County and Indiana, or Florida, the Osceola County? I'm just dropping names here. This is too much into the weeds for me, but I know that those are some of the counties that people are going to be looking at.
It's well, I know if the counting stops around midnight again, I know that Trump won.
But
it might not be that. It might not be that way the next morning, but that's
so.
So
what you're saying is we should really anticipate the next January 6th, which will be interesting when Trump and of course he can't get anybody to get the vice president to change her mind because she has a vested interest in the outcome of this election.
Well, that's actually kind of funny because already Democrats are coming out and saying that the Dominion machines have been hacked.
Now, what Democrats are those?
What's her? What's her face? The woman that tried to keep Trump off the ballot in Colorado posted the passwords for the Dominion machines online.
Well, I'll tell you, this would be, because everything, history repeats. It's already a farce, so I don't know what it's beyond that. But
wouldn't it be funny if there is so many irregularities that Kamala Harris does what Mike Pence wouldn't?
Well, that's what I have just get to is that.
Yeah, I know that. I just made it clearer for the garbage listeners.
Yeah, Kamala will be giving a speech urging everybody to storm Capitol Hill, and then she'll run over into the Capitol and say, "Okay, I'll do it. You convinced me." So yeah, it's interesting. And then, I mean, can you impeach a vice president? If you impeach a vice president, let's play this out. If she gets impeached for doing that, can she be impeached, or is that just the president who can be impeached? Can you impeach the administration?
No, you can impeach anyone in the government.
Okay, so if you
goes all the way down to the Supreme Court,
right? So if you impeach her, and by the way, I don't think anybody else is considering this scenario, but we're wargaming it right now. If she gets impeached because she does what Mike Pence, what Trump wanted Mike Pence to do. If she gets impeached and convicted by the Senate, that would mean she would not be eligible to be the president of the United States, would she? Or having been elected, but not having been sworn in yet. I mean, this would go right up to the Supreme Court, right? And of course, they'd have to pack the court in order to get the votes.
But that's not going to happen because the House and Senate both switch on the 1st of January. So,
well, I mean, so what's the House?
Hopefully they'll switch on the 1st of January.
Well, the House and Senate, and they would vote to impeach, and they would convict.
Yeah,
based on what I have. So,
I think you'd have to impeach her on insurrection charges because that way it's pretty clear that she couldn't hold office again.
By the way, this is quite a fantasy for you folks out there. You're not going to hear this on Joe Rogan, just being the mouthpiece for Donald Trump, or The View.
No. In his defense, he did invite Kamala to appear on his show, and she didn't want to travel to Austin.
No, right. She just didn't want to put her foot in her mouth again. I mean, and how could you worry about talking to Joe Rogan? The guy just a few years ago finally believed that we landed on the moon. He had to be convinced of that. Even tinfoil believes that we landed on the moon.
And speaking of a foot in the mouth, did you see that picture of Biden with the baby?
No, I didn't.
I don't know if it was trick or treating or what, but yeah, there's a photo of Biden. He actually put a baby's entire foot in his mouth.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Well, I've been distracted by Chris, our producer, who says, "Oh, I accused Rogan of being a mouthpiece. Obviously, I didn't listen." Did he give Trump a hard time? Really, what was the hardest question that he gave to Trump, Chris? You,
I mean, I know you're commenting. I know you didn't spend 3 hours listening to it.
I didn't spend 3 seconds
Of course.
listening to it.
You know,
I got
Joe,
about 90 minutes in.
Well,
And I'm
Chris,
surprised you had any time to listen to Rogan with Bannon being back.
Well,
Chris.
that's what I was saying, that I've been saving all my quality podcast time. I'm banking it because Bannon's back now, but we'll get to that later. So what's the toughest question that Joe Rogan asked of Donald Trump, if you recall?
do you think Joe Rogan is like a right-wing mouthpiece?
No. I just think he's
not even close to that.
Kind of stupid is what I think. And I'm also envious because he got like 20 million downloads, which is only 19,999. So anyway, so I got to tell you, we haven't been on together the last couple of weeks or so. This has been peak Godwin's Law time in politics. Godwin's Law, of course.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, that was actually my Facebook post yesterday. Was just
really
just okay. Godwin, just nothing more, just
nothing
Godwin.
More than Godwin. I've actually tweeted to Godwin. I mean, the actual Godwin. And Godwin's Law is that every political argument at some point devolves into an accusation that the other side is Hitler. And so, we went through the Hitler phase just a couple of weeks ago. That seems to have passed. Now we've gotten to the garbage phase, which
I understand. I understand Godwin. It says it's all right to call Trump Hitler.
Oh, yeah. No, he did.
Yeah.
If you get the Godwin seal of approval on using Godwin's Law, I think that pretty much is worth at least 5
Yeah, but isn't that kind of like Einstein saying, well, maybe time doesn't warp space?
Yeah, I'll tell you. That's too heavy a note to end this segment, but we are. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
There's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Now, thankfully, Tim and Chris watched, gobs and gobs of this Tony Hinchcliffe. I mean, isn't he like a who's the big?
Okay, he's actually like he's like Rogan Jr. He actually works out of Rogan's Club in Austin, Texas. He has a show that he started at the Ice House, I think, or the Comedy Store in LA.
It's getting a little too much in the weeds for me on these guys.
Okay. There might be comedy fans listening called Kill Tony. It's a podcast called Kill Tony. And it's basically, it's kind of like an open mic gong show. He invites comics up and then lets them do their 2 minutes and then insults them. Okay. Hugely popular with a demographic that both campaigns would like to claim as their own.
Oh, and which demographic is that?
Young, single male.
Oh, right. Well, but Trump's got the young single male. It's just, will they go to the polls?
Right. Well, that's the thing. That's why the guy who booked Hinchcliffe, who is probably no longer working for the Trump campaign,
right,
thought that it would be perfect to put him on, to try to inspire his audience.
Well, as we referred in the first segment, we're thinking that, okay, the initial, this always happens. Trump says something, or one of his surrogates or somebody says something. Somehow it does not redound to the benefit of the Democrats because they make it worse. And
sure. I would guess to Kill Tony is now like in the top 10 podcast if it wasn't before.
Chris is saying that it was Barron Trump's idea to get that.
They're perfect. King of the incels.
Yeah, but what happened was, of course, that Biden, and of course, I know you believing in.
It's kind of sad that it's kind of sad that Barron Trump got fired.
Hey,
maybe the Kennedys will adopt him.
You gotta be right. You gotta be loyal to DJT, or you're out of the family. So, but the thing is that Biden, of course, and I know you believe in conspiracy theories. Do you believe Biden called the supporters garbage?
Absolutely,
because he wanted to undermine Kamala.
Oh no, not at all. Not at all. It
Okay.
just no. He was just saying what he believes. I
Yeah.
mean,
Now,
is there any doubt in anybody's mind that that's what Democrats think about Trump supporters?
no doubt, no doubt at all. I mean, this goes back to the deplorables. I, yeah, that's why, you know, this is such a visceral thing. This isn't about policy. This is about.
I mean, look who his VP pick is. I mean, that's he grew up being called, you know, in a family that much of America would call trash.
Totally. So, although they made a lot of money, they had a lot of money in the household that J.D. Vance lived in. He was not Appalachian person. Yeah. No, they were okay.
Well, was she
dealing?
Was mom dealing?
There were drug problems. There was all kinds of problems. Money is not the answer to everything, but they were not poor. The family that he grew up with.
I thought his mom was. I thought his grandparents were not.
Now,
I thought his grandparents, because they were pretty much middle class. He worked as grandpa worked at the factory.
As you know, the raison d'etre for this podcast is that I'm kind of like Larry King, who never did any homework when he interviewed people. The best one to watch for that is Jerry Seinfeld. Seinfeld is like incredulous. I mean, he's saying, Larry, I mean, do you know what I've been doing the last few years? But so I'm just sick of the campaign too. I didn't even watch the Biden soundbite in which he supposedly calls Trump supporters garbage. And then, of course, they tried to spin it by saying there's an apostrophe in there. Mm-hmm. And then Charlie Cook of National Review said, now we're going to go back and Hillary wants to put an apostrophe in deplorables. And I say, it depends what the meaning of s is, you know, with the apostrophe S, sure. Which, you know, an allusion to Bill Clinton. But yeah, after hearing that, and I assume you have heard it, and Chris can chime in too, because I honestly I didn't hear it.
Oh no,
Biden he clearly to supporters.
You would have to if you put the apostrophe in it, you have to diagram that sentence in order for it to make any sense.
Yeah,
and with the apostrophe, supposedly he's applying that the garbage came out of Hinchcliffe's mouth.
Yeah,
that's what he was trying to say, but it's not. Biden doesn't speak with sentences that complex.
No. I mean, you know, he speaks in simple sentences like "love is love," which is what his father said about the gay couple in the late 50s. And
not a joke. Not a joke.
Love is love. So,
Andy, here's another thing. Thing. I took Hinchcliffe's remark. I don't think he was talking about Puerto Ricans. I mean, that's how they're kind of misinterpreting what he said. He said that the island is full of garbage. And if you've been to Puerto Rico,
well, look, you know where I get all my knowledge of Puerto Rico? From, of course, West Side Story. Puerto Rico, my heart's devotion. Let it sink back in the ocean. Always the hurricanes blowing. Always the population growing. And then they dance and oh my. And I'm surprised after seeing George Shakiris dance as Bernardo. I cannot believe the Jets didn't whip them so bad. But apparently the Jets were pretty light on their feet too. So you know what I would love to see? A nice fight, a big fight between the Jets and the Sharks could be on one team, and the U.S. Navy from South Pacific on the other team. And let's see. I mean, Vince McMahon
in a longshoreman's bar.
I mean, it'd be a great fight. So,
first, I hate to interrupt your Broadway fantasies. But do you actually want to hear the clip?
All right. Yeah, let's
make your own opinion.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Let's hear it.
Honorable people, the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of things is unconscionable.
There you go. What do you think? Do you hear an apostrophe?
First of all, I got to diagram the sentence.
You want to?
And I haven't done diagram. You know, is there a predicate nominative in there?
Want to Zapruder film this thing or what?
All right, let's hear it again.
All right, here we go.
His demonization of things
hold on
out there is his supporters. His supporters. His his demonization.
There you go. You got supporters 4 times. Do you hear an apostrophe or no?
Well, I mean, how do you pronounce?
Yeah, how do you pronounce an
apostrophe?
apostrophe? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Supporters.
Supporters.
Look,
Yeah,
you know,
you do it like the kids do.
Joe
Supporters.
Biden is so addlepated. It's hard to discern what he means. But yeah, look, I'm in favor of it. I'm in favor of the advantage that it's given to the Trump campaign, because we need the campaign, need that support. Because did you see? We have this Dallas Morning News tweet. You could bring this up. Who's like on Kamala's side right now? She's getting all the important people. She got the mom from Friday Night Lights. Did you watch that show at all? It was
not a
about
bit.
High school football.
Not an episode.
We watched the whole thing recently. That's the mom, Connie Britton, and she'll campaign for Allred in Dallas. But she's a good Democrat. Now, I was a little disappointed.
You're saying important people. What's she been doing lately?
Well, here's the thing. They didn't get the hot 20-somethings who played the 16-year-olds in Friday Night Lights.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was a show that everybody in the family could love. The kids could love it because it's about high school. I could love it because it was about football and sexy teenagers. So it was it was a great show. But
they got the over the hill mom who can't get any roles because all the middle-aged women roles are being taken by senior citizens like Glenn Close and Meryl Streep.
It's unbelievable. Won't they ever retire? Those old ladies, they get made up like that. It's like in everything. It's we won't quit. People like our age. No, we got still something left. Well, get away, old man. So
we'll squeeze every ounce of fame that's left in the podcast.
Yeah. Speaking of like somebody young who's supplanted an old guy like me, I consider him a friend. Ryan Shiverini is the sportscaster on Channel 7. Okay, and he actually went out on a limb and tweeted that he had just voted. And he says that everybody should vote. It is your duty to vote. Had a tweet on there. And I, of course, being the nattering nabob of negativism, Spiro Agnew, I responded and I said, Ryan, I agree with just about everything you say. However, I'd like fewer people to vote. I'm an elitist snob. And that I consider voting a privilege. And then he came back and said, yes, of course it's a privilege. That's how you keep a job at Channel 7. Mark Greco. That's how you keep a job.
I agree with you on that one, though, Bruce. I think if you have to be told to vote by Taylor Swift, don't.
No, I mean,
don't really. If you don't know if it's important, then stay home.
Yeah. Now, have you voted yet?
I have not been able to.
I voted. Yeah. My wife and I voted last week, as soon as they opened the polls for my meaningless vote in Illinois. And, I got a little nervous when it looked like I had forged my own signature on the iPad that I had to sign. Well, try signing with an index finger at an angle yet. Now, I understand they do have a stylus for you if you want, but I didn't see one. Now, I promise next time I am going to familiarize myself with more of the candidates and the issues. Who am I kidding? I'm not going to. Yeah, Republican. So are you? Well, you live in Indiana, right? I mean, it's.
Yeah. I get to.
Yeah.
I don't have to be binary on the presidential.
Sure.
I'm very, very for. If you live in Illinois or Indiana, there's no reason to vote for president for one of the binary choices. Vote your conscience.
You're more
vote
trans.
Vote for Stein if you're in Illinois and you want communism, and vote for Chase Oliver if you feel like you're a little libertarian. So
it's the first time I've heard that name. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
The only garbage I see floating out there is just supporters.
Thank you for coming. I put I think Raheem Kassam has just put it up. The first statement I think I made from Danbury was about 4 weeks ago, September 26th. I said, victory is at hand. That you can see the collapse of this kind of phony campaign by Kamala Harris, the politics of joy, right? And she had nothing to back it up whatsoever. And you could see the beginning in the polls start to come our way.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. And I'll tell you, I am so happy that our producers is happy because Steve Bannon is out of jail, baby. Hey, do you know Rod Blagojevich, ex-con, was apparently on Gutfeld the other night? Just part of the panel. Oh, sure. Yeah. So I remember when Dan Rostenkowski became a Fox political contributor, and he went to the clink. I mean, Steve Bannon, I went a minor offense, contempt of Congress. How's
yeah, that's an offense. I thought it was a default position.
Right. So
only person serving at the jail he was at there on a misdemeanor, by the way.
So
was he? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So he's the only misdemeanor in prison?
Well, at that particular prison, he was the only person serving a misdemeanor. Yes.
Yeah, and they kept him. They kept him a couple weeks longer than they had to, or
bad behavior.
He could on the first. No. What is it? The first act or first step act.
Yeah,
he was eligible to be free on the 29th of September, and they kept him the full amount of the sentence.
Yep.
Wow. Did he lose weight in prison?
Yeah, he did. He actually looks pretty good.
See, I remember De Niro I forgot the movie, but he said, the average man gains a pound every year, but the average prisoner loses a pound. And he looked fantastic as he was gnawing on Juliette Lewis's thumb, I believe. So he was hungry. So how's Bannon doing? Has he lost his touch?
Yeah, there you go.
Did he jump right back in? Chris, is he great?
Well, that should tell you everything right there, right?
Yeah, right.
That's the attitude that's coming back with.
So
what happened? So if he is he still fighting his sentence? He wasn't he? He's looking for appeal.
He is.
So if he wins on appeal, can he go back a counselor and sue for wrongful imprisonment?
I think that's the
point. Well, I know you think that, Chris.
Well,
I was asking the attorney on the show.
First of all, I'm a constitutional law expert on the Third Amendment. Okay, I'm an expert on the Third Amendment. What is that one again? That's the one the Democrats have been trying to figure out a way to violate since its inception. I think is that
no quartering soldiers? No quartering soldiers. Yes.
Yeah, right.
Also, but they're thinking it probably doesn't apply to immigrants. So if you got a guest room, guess what?
And there you go. So, Tim, you weren't here a couple of weeks, and I saved this because it was just for you. J.B. Pritzker, our esteemed governor of Illinois, was in Japan a few weeks ago.
No kidding.
Rustle up business or something. And he saw our dear friend Rahm Emanuel. I think we have that picture. And I believe, I don't know if Rahm's standing on a soapbox or whatever, but it just doesn't look like JB towers over. Oh, yeah, there's no way. I mean, is Pritzker he's not short, is he? Pritzker?
I don't know. If he is, if that's his real height, he's actually wider than he is tall.
I was gonna say he's twice as wide as Rahm.
I mean, unless Rahm, for all we know, that he's eating a lot of edamame or whatever udon noodles, and he's grown, but
there's probably a place in the embassy there where there's like one step up, and Rahm always stands on that when he gets photographed.
Sure.
So his photographer carries an apple box with him.
Stand up. I am standing. So it just brings to mind the reason, and this is a weekly wrap exclusive, courtesy of Tim Slagle, why it was that Rahm decided to become the ambassador to Japan, and why was that?
Well, he wanted to feel tall.
There you go. And every time
that joke has been repeated almost as much as your Don Lemon story.
Well, speaking of which,
how's that for a segue?
We've got a clearance sale going on right now. Apparently, Dan Bongino ripped Don Lemon. And the only problem with that, and everybody knows, and I'll just adopt and incorporate by reference all the past podcasts mentioning Don Lemon, including but not limited to the time that he asked if he thought that flight that was lost went into a black hole. But in any event, the problem with it's a mixed blessing when Dan Bongino rips Don Lemon, because Dan Bongino sicked his posse on me more than once on Twitter.
Really?
Because I said, I said, I voted for Trump, but you don't have to genuflect to him. And he got it. The guy's sensitive. He's very sensitive. So speaking of Chicago mayors, so there's this tweeter, Libs of Chicago. This goes back a couple of weeks, but the mayor's in the news all the time. I don't know if you know the news right now is that the guy that he picked to be the president of the school board, this guy Mitchell Johnson, just resigned, I think, today after not being on the job even 7 days. And of course, the prior school board resigned, even though he had picked them, because they wouldn't go along with him. And this mayor is now. He doesn't like it when reporters ask him questions. And he said, this was a little while ago, "Don't interrupt me ever again." That's what the mayor of Chicago telling a reporter trying to ask a follow-up question. And now, of course, people want to know why are you breaking a promise not to raise property taxes? And he did. He wants to the tune of $300 million. I've got a joke. I want to test it with the great stand-up comedian Tim Slagle. I got a knock-knock joke here. You got to be the mayor of Chicago. Okay. All right. And,
Okay.
But I'll say knock. Okay. Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting reporter.
Don't interrupt me.
No. Do you know how to do a knock, knock joke? Let's start it over again. Here we go.
well, the interrupting reporter is supposed to come in a little sooner than that.
No.
Okay. We'll try it again. Okay. We'll try it again.
We don't know how to tell knock, knock jokes. Maybe we should go a little bit lower, do a little bit, some schools. Knock,
Who's
knock.
there?
Interrupting
reporter who?
You're a loser, you CTU slug. See, that's what. All right. Anyway, but he's in trouble. It's trouble. Somehow he's got 28% popularity in Chicago. That's awfully high for what this guy has done. This school board president.
28%. 28% is enough to win re-election in Chicago, though, right?
Sure, because they got the printing presses right behind you.
Is he gonna give back the money to Lil Durk?
Oh God! And that the president of the Bears was like honoring little Durk too. A lot of people in trouble for Lil Durk. But this guy, this Mitchell Johnson, apparently he had posted to Facebook some anti-Semitic, misogynistic, and otheristic things, and he had to resign. I mean, poor Mayor Johnson.
The guy was very pro-Palestine. If I'm not mistaken.
I can guarantee that.
And the irony is, he would probably call Trump a Nazi.
Yeah, so there you go. Godwin approves. Adam Carolla had a great tweet recently about Aunt Jemima. Okay, and the syrup, Aunt Jemima.
Well, I like the pancakes. Not a fan of the syrup.
Interesting. The distinction.
Pancakes, thumbs up. Syrup, meh.
Well, you might not like the syrup because it has hexametaphosphate in it. But Adam Carolla was saying it was terrible because they changed it to this very pedestrian
pearl milling company.
Pearl milling anodyne name. He retweets some guy saying removing the Aunt Jemima branding but keeping the high fructose corn syrup with brown dye and sodium hexametaphosphate is a pretty stellar example of how liberals love to make hollow symbolic gestures while keeping in place the system that's actually killing people. And that inspired a little ditty from me here, a little parody. Aunt Jemima pancakes without her syrup is like spring without the fall. If there's one thing worse in this universe, it's no hexametaphosphate at all. So there you go. And you throw that in You got a Broadway musical, my friend. So, okay. The Washington Post. This is Broadway Beat. Okay. Which, by the way, is pretty much the same as Bruce's Jews News, right? Broadway. So the Washington Post isn't endorsing anybody for president, which is hysterical. It's absolutely hysterical that they're not doing it. And Bezos basically said, "Oh, I don't want people to think that we're biased." Well, they're. How dumb do you think readers are? Everybody knows that the Washington Post is biased, and you can't ratify it by endorsing Kamala Harris. I mean, it's just hysterical. And they lost like 200,000 subscribers in the wake of the decision, according to NPR. I don't think they had 200,000 to begin with. I think they're in the hole right now.
Well, on top of that, all the unbiased journalists were outraged by the Washington Post taking a stance of non-bias.
It reminds me, I worked for the community newspaper chain, the Lerner newspapers in the Chicago neighborhoods and suburban area years ago. And of course, we would never bias anyone. We would never endorse candidates either because we wanted all their advertising. But that was like, kind of like a local yokel paper, the margins very low. You got to placate the advertisers. Now, Washington Post is like this. They can't even endorse somebody for president. It's kind of pathetic. And
have you seen the ads they're running on Channel 7? It's during the news, they run disclaimers in front, and they say, by federal law, ABC has to run these ads. We're sorry for this disturbing images that you are about to witness. I don't think that's doing what they want it to be doing, because boy, when I see that, I definitely want to tune in.
I would think the disclaimer would be, Cheryl Burton is not really let me put it this way about Cheryl Burton. Kamala Harris is the Cheryl Burton of Claudine gays. Yeah, think about that. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And I got to tell you, I saw this live, and
what a moment. What a moment.
Immediate reaction. First off, the game was pretty boring for about 3 quarters. And then the Bears came back and they went, okay, great, and all that. And then that play, and the play before it, of course, is controversial because they maybe even Tony Romo, who's been criticized, was on top of this. Okay, for the play before, and that you're supposed to have a guy back there in the end zone in case it gets tipped. But my immediate reaction was just, I just thought it was funny, and there's something very wrong with me that I would just laugh at it. I don't know. I'm so jaded. I felt a little bad for the Bears. They're really trying, and but it's hard to feel bad for multimillionaires. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I wish I were a fan like I was, about 50, 60 years ago, but there's something wrong with me. I admit that, but it was a funny play. And I was just thinking that there should be like support groups, and you could throw the New York Yankees with what they did last night into this too. But, support, and your own Detroit Lions were the victims of a Hail Mary play. Aaron Rodgers to Richard Rodgers. No relation to Rodgers of Rodgers and Hammerstein, my friend. Okay. Oh! I think Hammerstein, Rodgers may have written some of those. I'm going to watch that man right out of my hair, or the Navy song.
Yeah, I think that was a Rodgers.
There ain't nothing like a dame. Okay, it comes full circle here on this podcast. But you should have like a support group for people like Ralph Branca, who gave up Bobby Thompson's shot heard around the world. Ralph Terry, who gave up Bill Mazeroski's game-winning Grand Slammer in 1960. Or Ralph Cramden, who lost the $100,000 question or whatever it was on the Honeymooners because he thought Ed Norton had written Swanee River. was all set. He was all set, and he didn't get Swanee River. I could tell you're not a big Honeymooners fan.
I don't. I thought you were going to make a joke about his moonshot.
Whose moonshot?
That Ralph Cramden never completed his moonshot.
He never completed his.
Yeah,
moonshot.
that's where Alice was supposed to go.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, there was a picture in the opening of the Honeymooners, and it's a moon, and but right, those were the days, when you could just joke
about beating your wife.
About beating your wife, or there was the great. I think the Simpsons parodied "I Love Lucy," and they had Fred Mertz going, "Hit her harder, Rick." So, yeah, in those days. So anyway, the Bears lost, and this Tyreek Stevenson, the cornerback there, who he did get back in time to tip the ball, and so he's not the guy who was supposed to be back there. But in any event, it's just it was good fun. This is really self-indulgent here, and I can skip over it if you want. But the Channel 5 sportscaster got fired, and I was pretty happy about that. Her name is Layla Rahimi, and in all honesty, she was pretty good. I was hoping Leela,
another
right?
person on Chris's hate list. I can't stand her.
Oh, what? I'm glad. Why don't you like her?
Overpronunciation of words, husky voice, and I don't feel there's the depth of knowledge there. It seems all surface level knowledge. Couldn't stand her since when she was on the Comcast Sportsnet. Happy to see her gone. Useless. Yeah. Also happy, if I can just point this out.
Yeah.
Jason Benetti, got hired by Fox through the NFL games, and do you see what he gets assigned? The games that are in the two smallest markets where they're only on in those markets, he has no national broadcast. That also,
but it's a good, but you're looking at
sports hatred right there.
Thank you. I know, but you have to understand he's just making a foray into that. The sky's the limit for this guy.
Ugh, he's been on.
I know you don't want to think it. Look, I'm happy that you don't like Layla. Interesting thing, if you think she's superficial, what did you think of what I was doing for 30 years?
You're providing a comedic punch.
Yeah, I mean,
all these sportscasters now, zero. With Gian Greco gone, who has any personality?
Right.
None.
Right. Well, but
I want to stop you for a second. What
Sure.
do you mean over pronunciation of words? Like
that's a good one too.
Like she pronounces the apostrophe.
No, like she took classes to speak better, where you have to hit the, you're hitting the R's hard and the TH hard. It's you could tell when you watch it. I'm sure you've never seen her.
Okay.
Low level.
No, I've never.
I thought, first of all, I thought she was kind of cute.
No.
Okay, do you think she's cute?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Let
Not cute.
me pull up a picture so we can at least get Tim's opinion on that.
I thought she was kind of cute, and she had my job.
Huh.
I mean, that's my job. Sure, I'd hate it if I were there, but I hated that.
Several times removed.
Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Well, the late Chet Kopic and I used to go back and forth in person and on Twitter about who, he was resentful that he got canned by Channel 5. And I said, Chet, it's my turn to be resentful. He was resentful for 20 years, and step aside. It's my turn to be resentful.
Yeah.
But
so did you ever do Chet Kopic and Chet Kopic slot?
What do you mean?
Chet.
All right, what, you don't think she's cute?
No.
Huh. Well, I think she's cute. Yeah. And I think she's knowledgeable. And I don't mind the voice. And when I
use those teeth to shingle a roof.
So here's the thing. And I didn't like it that she was, halfway decent. I was kind of hoping she'd get fired because she does like a bit on the Score, Chicago's Jewish progressive sports station. And I was hoping that she got fired because she made some kind of like anti-Trump remark on the radio and it got back to TV. But that's just my fantasy. I'm sure there's a rebuttable presumption. She just got canned because the business is dying. Okay. And they fired a lot of people that NBC Sports, the cable thing went under. The teams got their own network now. So that's what I would guess happened. I mean, Chris, you seem to be the expert on this. Isn't that? Don't you think that's what happened?
Well, don't you think she's going to end up over at Chicago Sports, whatever they're calling that?
Maybe. I don't know. But I
doing a BC reporter like Mark Schanowski is now. The jobs he won't even take.
But anyway, I have offered, and I make this offer right here. I will come back to Channel 5 and be their sportscaster. Just a couple of conditions. All right. First, I want to Zoom it from home right after I do this podcast. I want to call Northwestern the University of Qatar, and I want to go by the name of Johnny Earp, okay, who actually was a sportscaster. A guy named Johnny Earp and he never was resentful after he was let go about 60 years ago. Also,
was he a descendant of Wyatt?
Might be like his son. I mean, that's how I think it was
how old he was.
ERP.
It's a name you don't see much.
No, you don't. Also, I want.
It's like you get the name if you like die when you're coming in on Ellis Island.
There you go.
You know who we let go that was good. Bruce Sans, the murdering father. Remember Sarah Kustak?
Oh yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. You thought she was really good.
So I thought she was good, and I also liked her brother as a quarterback.
Zach Kustak.
Yes.
Right. How do you like that? Northwestern quarterbacks for 100, please.
Number? What's his number?
I don't know what Kustak's number was.
I believe it was 10.
But I remember Chico Kurzowski. Oh, Tim's going to sleep right now, and I don't blame him. Okay, so Tim, have you seen this show on Apple TV called Disclaimer?
I have not. I do not subscribe to Apple.
Okay, so they've got Cate Blanchett, Academy Award winner, right? Great actress. Kevin Kline, and even Hamas's own Christiane Amanpour. Well, she gives at the beginning. She has a cameo where she's giving an award to Cate Blanchett because she's a great reporter. And the thing is, with all the great acting and the drama, they throw in some softcore porn right in the middle of it. It's hysterical. It's the younger version of Cate Blanchett having an affair with some kid. And there is
thank goodness they got a double, huh?
They did, but there's so much nudity. It's unbelievable. I actually thought that Mossad had hacked the movie with the sleeves, and just to get at Christiane Amanpour. Maybe I'm getting old or something. And I am. Look, it was a porn. I will paraphrase Justice Potter Stewart on the definition of pornography. I'll paraphrase. I know it when I feel it. Okay. And yeah.
How about that?
They were showing like just in the middle of this drama. There were so many other subtle ways they could have done it. But you can't tell me that. And you know what? It was very
well. That's how you stretch. That's how you stretch 3 hours of a film into a 12-episode miniseries.
Right, with about 40 minutes of foreplay, and there was even 5 play in that. That's how much.
Holy cow!
That's a little Victor Borga for you. Little 5 play in there. And he never used that line, but he would have if he could have. So anyway, all right. In just a few seconds, we have remaining. Plug a podcast that you're doing, or a show that you're doing, or who you're voting for.
I'm voting for Chase Oliver. Vote Libertarian. Woohoo!
Oh my God.
Go to timslagle.com. Find more about the
right.
Tim Slagle World Tour.
This is not the way to end this. End it with your favorite lines from American West Side Story, please. In America, Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
And that's the Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.